Business is more than grinding to get it done. It's people, process, and payroll done right. It's protecting your team, leveraging every penny out of every dollar to build and grow. From HR to insurance, from strategy to scale. We give you the playbook so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. This is the PEO Playbook, hosted by Chad Filley with Staff Brokers Inc. Get valuable insights and learn to grow your team without HR headaches. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back. It's Chad Filley with Staff Brokers here for this episode of the PEO Playbook podcast. You can catch us at PEOplaybook.com as well. Today we're going to touch on, using a PEO and employee handbooks. Employee handbooks are a very vital part of a business owner's setup, and generally the first thing that everybody wants to see when something goes wrong. When you have an employee discrepancy, that's generally what gets pulled by attorneys to find out, did you or did you not follow the rules that you set forth on yourself? So what comes along with that is a lot of, what rules do you want to set forth upon yourself? Because if you put those in your employee handbook, you must abide by them. And you must abide by them for the best of your employees as well as the worst of your employees. And if there's any difference in between them, how you treat anybody in that spectrum, now you potentially have a discrimination issue, which is a bigger, farther more expensive issue that your business really doesn't want to deal with. So how do PEOs go about, or where is their benefit from an employee handbook point of view? Well, they're in the business of being an employer, so they're constantly looking through and dealing with updates in all the employer regulations. So, drug place employment policy, sexual harassment policies, all the different things. Different states have different requirements as well. So depending on the type of business and where they're at, are they in one state? Are they in multiple states? They may need to have more than one handbook. PEOs are on top of and keeping up constantly with the legal side of what needs to be there. And ultimately are there to help business owners as simply as possible put together a very legal employee handbook that also encompasses the employer's individual policies that they want, from, so dress code to hairstyles, things that are distracting at the workplace, etc. They help them set up the policies they want to the extent they want within the bounds of the law as far as what they can legally do, so that business owners have something consistent across the board. How does that get done? Different PEOs handle it differently. Some have some kind of stock templates that they can give business owners. Business owners can fill those out, and then the PEO can kind of recreate their own, kind of recreate it from the stock template to what the business owner wants to add in, and kind of give a blended version that fits within all the rules and laws, depending on the state, multiple states, whichever it may be. There are some PEOs that they may give you a 30-page questionnaire that asks everything under the sun, things that you may not even think about. Like I say, dress code, attendance policy, bathroom policies. You'd be surprised what all's out there that you can incorporate into an employee handbook, and they can ask everything under the sun and then build you one from scratch that basically is set just for your business. Different PEOs, depending on what you want to do, may just take your employee handbook. If you already have one, they can go through it and review it. Make sure that you're up to date on all the current sexual harassment policies, drug place workforce policies. Big one is what's going to happen, with all the change in the marijuana laws, what's going to happen with those? How do those need to be incorporated in handbooks? Do employers have to go with the federal guidelines? Can they make up their own or their state guidelines? That's what the PEO is there for, to help bridge that gap and make sure that you're set up the appropriate way. Also, another one, that PEOs can help with is advising on what you don't want in your employee handbook. They can have an honest conversation with you about, are you actually going to abide by what you're willing to put in there? Is What's the, is 3 tardies going to be grounds for write-up? How many no-shows before termination? Do you want these things in your handbook? Because if you put them in there, you better abide by them. So if you have policies, you better be willing to execute them across the board on everybody. So there can be some benefit to not having as much defined stuff when it comes to what is your potential punishment policies. Is it, hey, so depending on the severity of the violation, will determine what some of the disciplinary actions are. Gives you a little bit more room than saying black and white, XYZ, we're going to do this, because now you're destined to have to follow it. How does it relate to, wraps in all kinds of things when you get into benefits? When's your benefits time? When will you be notified? How long will you have for open enrollment? How many days before does it have to be turned in? If you miss it by XYZ, what happens? A lot of things related to that employee handbook that can be vital to the business, to the operations and procedures, so that you have protections against, when something goes wrong, that you can say, hey, we followed our company guidelines as an employer. This is what we said we were going to do from the, right from the get-go. And we have followed that. Because like I said, that is something that gets brought up a lot when you have employer-employee disputes, is did the employer respond in the manner that they said they were going to based on the situation that arrived? Obviously, you can't have an employee handbook that can account for every single situation that would arrive. So having it laid out so you cover the basis of just about everything so that the employer has leeway and room to maneuver in figuring out how to handle employee discrepancies. It's a big key part of what the PEO does when helping them design that handbook so that they're protected, but they're not handcuffed by their own employee handbook. So that's kind of the big thing on the employee handbook side. That's something that typically you're turning to an attorney to find all the legalese that needs to be in it related to, and I said, depending on the state, it gets overly complicated as far as, what needs to be in there, from American Disabilities Act, leave of absence laws, maternity leave, paternity leave. There's a whole variety of things that a lot of employers you don't really think of until you encounter or run into it. And then at that point, if you've waited until and not made a policy and then you run into it, you're essentially creating your policy on the fly, because however you treat the first incident of that nature is generally how you're going to have to treat it going forward. So it brings a lot of awareness to potential situations that may come about down the road that employer may not have the foresight to look into. So that is one of the big benefits from a PEO point of view. They've seen a lot of commonalities and incidents that come up over time. So they can assist with building that handbook up front so that you have a plan as you run into these occurrences that come up over the life of being an employer. So that's really it for employee handbooks and, today for as far as how the PEO deals with that. So thanks again for joining us on the PEO Playbook podcast. I'm Chad Filley with Staff Brokers. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the PEO Playbook, where we help business owners unlock the power of PEOs and take their team to the next level. This episode was proudly brought to you by Legacy Sales Engineering. If you're ready to simplify HR, scale your business, and put the right team behind you, visit staffbroker.net to get started with Staff Brokers today.